Okay, folks, here we are live from the garage, and I'm not sure how good the lighting is going to be here during this. Let's see if we can't adjust this a little bit forward and so forth. We're out here using the computer. That's not too bad right there. We're out here using the computer for filming. Normally I just throw the phone on here and film from the phone, but you get a little bit better resolution with the computer. And actually, it's because YouTube, when you're doing a live video, and they go, "Oh, you're using a mobile connection? We'll just dumb you down to 720." And really, 720 just doesn't cut it for this kind of stuff. You know, maybe if I was just doing a talk show or something like that, it'd be one thing. But that is something that I wanted to. Oh, Marcus, welcome. Oh, I got some juicy shit for you. That's a good thing. Juicy shit is good. Just don't step in it. Yeah, the 3D prints are crazy. So we kind of have a little bit of an agenda. So I've got the 3D prints out here. We want to prime them. We want to base coat 2 of them, the Russian ones. That's what we're going to do first. You know, we've got the M10, right? We've got the M10. We've got the M1139 for the Italians. We've got a Matilda and an A13 and a T60 and the BT7 with the conical turret and the Jagdpanzer 1. The Jagdpanzer 1 is not ready to be primed yet. I am looking to get that done this weekend, meaning I'd like to get the Panzerjäger 1 done and the 2 Russian tanks done. Why am I not looking to get the other things? And maybe the Italian one. Because I am about to do a deep dive in a week or so. I'm going to do a deep dive into North Africa. Between the Panzertrooper book that I have and another book that I've got coming in the way, a couple of videos, we're going to really get super crunchy. And that's a good thing. I don't want to start painting stuff and then go, man, I wish I would have read this afterwards. I would have labeled them differently. It doesn't matter for any of you guys. It's just for my sake. So, the 2 British tanks, as much as I want to do a Matilda, and I want to do a Matilda badly, and I even have the counter paint set, I don't know that that may take a little bit of time, because I want to make sure that I get some paint schemes and stuff like that. So the counter scheme is kind of, there's something about it that kind of sucks. And the same thing happens with the paint schemes that the U.S. destroyers did in World War II. The Dazzle type paint schemes, I want to say they're the Measure 32. I don't remember. I haven't looked at that stuff in a while. But the stuff that they used in 1944 was really good looking with like 3 or 4 colors. You'd have like a Fletcher class destroyer, and it would have where all these paints are, and every single Fletcher class destroyer was the same way. So that's kind of a bummer from the standpoint of, you know, individuality, right? You don't want to have a bunch of trucks that have the same camouflage scheme. Like these 2 Opel Maltiers, right? Nope, if I could get them to come out here without falling apart, because they are kind of falling apart. They have exactly the same camouflage scheme on them. That's not going to work, okay? That's, you know, that's BS. So it sucks from a modeling standpoint that they did stuff like that. I didn't realize that there was such a thing until I did. I was working on finding out info on the Spitfire that I still haven't built. And in the Spitfire, for instance, that has the green and the brown on the wings, there's basically only 2 patterns. And they're not mirror images of each other, but they're different. So like all the Spitfires, they would have been stenciled with the green and the brown in one of 2 different versions. Well, the counter scheme's the same way, except that it seems like there's a counter A, B, C, and D. So, you know, I don't want to paint them all the same, okay? Even if they said, well, that's how they were, I'm not going to do it, okay? I'll paint one plain, I'll do one with counter, and I need to find out some information on some counter schemes. I could see having 4 Matildas. I don't think I need more than 4, but You know, so I want to pay it. I want to make sure that my parachute's on before I jump out of the plane. Okay, I deal with a lot of people that jump out of a plane and they go, oh, "Did I put my fucking parachute on?" Well, it's just, where's the fucking string, you know? So we don't want to do that. So, baby steps. All right. We have the T60, which, by the way, I was able to fix. I was able to fix the barrel on the T60, just hot water. Did it bend back? It's bending back a little bit. Anyways, I think I got it fixed with mildly hot water, not boiling hot water, hot water. And we still nuked it in the microwave, but we were really careful. So we have the T60. Not sure whether it's a T60 or a T60A. That's going to be primed and finished. And also the BT7. Now, this one has the old 4BO green, as always, as all the T-34-85s have, right? But this one can have one of the pre-war colors. And as a matter of fact, in the back of the description here, it even shows the BT7 with the protective green. There's two pre-World War II greens that the Soviets used, according to this. One of them is called Basic Protector Aldikno Alkidno Urektak whatever. Basic Protector, right? 3BAU. And the Protective Green is the other one. So we're going to use Protective Green for this one instead of 4BO, okay, on the BT7. And the T60 will have the 4BO green that we used on all the other ones. And we're going to prime all the other stuff. So even though we're not going to paint the Matilda, we're going to prime all those things as well. But we're going to start priming these because when I'm done, then I'll roll into priming those, and these can be drying, so it gives me time to apply the green. And then we'll stop for the evening. Because then in the morning we'll do the brown wash. I need to finish with the brown wash so we can hit the ground running with these tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a morning session because I think I'm going to take the WRX in for an oil change tomorrow. I was planning on waiting another week, and then the weather just started changing. And it actually got cool, and boop, the tire thing came on, you know. So I went and I've got a tire thing in my car, and I checked them all, and they're all the same. So if we have a flat tire, we have a flat tire on all the tires. Okay, each one's flat, but I think it's just cold. So I'm gonna go in there and say, hey, can you bump these things to like 37 or something like that, so I don't have a problem every fucking morning, you know, because when you have this technology and you start losing confidence in it that it's reporting an accurate problem, you just kind of start ignoring it, you know. So I think I'm going to do that in the morning. But unlike the Toyota dealership, or what we used to have, these lazy bastards don't start until 8. So we should be able to do a morning session. So I'm not in a hurry, but, you know, I got these designers and stuff that want to see their stuff painted, and I don't blame them. I want to see how good this stuff looks as well. So... But one thing I wanted to talk to you, Marcus, because I'm glad you came on here. By chance, I happened to look into the Panzerjäger 1. And there's a site, I'm sure you've seen it before. Let me take my body cavity glove off. There's plenty of time to check for body cavities. There's a site when you look for pictures that's called, and I'll show you what it is. And I know how to, I can't bookmark things on my phone. I suck at that. I don't know how to do that. But if you look at, I think I was looking for Panzerjäger 1 camo or paint schemes. And there's a site that comes up all the time. Actually, I should look at images. is I'll recognize it. Sorry, I'm unprepared. Hey, you get what you pay for. I got to plan so much Monday through Friday. I just kind of want to wing it a little bit when I'm not here. There's a site that's called something like Armor of the World or some shit like that. Maybe I found it on the BT7. Panzer PZJG 1 Armor of World War II. Let me look at that. Okay, it's a site like Tank Encyclopedia. It might even be Tank Encyclopedia. Let's click on Tank Encyclopedia. And I'm going to scan here. There was some super interesting shit in here. Okay. All right, this is the Panzerjäger one, all right? So if you read in here, blah, 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 it talks about, effective range, da, 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 da. The total ammunition load was 80, this is a Jagdpanzer 1. So, you got a Panzer 1 chassis, 47 millimeter Czech gun, and they used it in France. And they went to Russia and North Africa after that, okay? The total ammunition load was 86 rounds carried inside the vehicle in 5 different ammunition boxes. Only 10 HE rounds were carried, located behind the loader on the vehicle's right-hand side. On the right side of the crew fighting compartment where the loader was seated, there was another ammunition box with 34 AP rounds. Some 16 AP additional rounds were placed under the gun. The remaining rounds were located at the rear fighting compartment under the gunner's and loader's seats. Okay? So a pretty straightforward thing. But what I thought was interesting about it is that 86 rounds, only 10 of them were HE. So 76 AP, 10 HE rounds. Remember that, okay? So we're gonna see about an action, okay, and in particular action in Russia, because mine's gonna be for Russia, okay. Mine's gonna be in Panzer Gray in 1941. I know that they used them even later in that, but it's gonna be a 1941 Russia type thing. Okay, for the upcoming invasion of the Soviet Union in June 41, 5 independent tank hunter battalions equipped with a Panzerjäger 1 were allocated to this front. These were the 521st, 529th, 616th, 643rd, and 670th Panzerjäger battalions with a total of 135 vehicles. Okay, that's what, 5 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so whatever 135 divided by 5 is. Panzerjäger 521 was allocated to Panzer Group 2, so that's Guderian's unit. Okay, it was a core element in Guderian's group. 529 was 4th Army, also Army Group Center. Panzerjäger 616 is Panzer Group 6 Nord. I believe that was Hoppner. I think Hoppner had that one. And Panzer Group 3... 643 was attached to Panzer Group 3, so that's Holtz's group. And the last one, 670, was in Army Group South, which would have been part of Kleist's group. There were other independent battalions, 559, so basically they were spread all over the front. Okay, they weren't all together. There were other independent battalions, 559th, 653rd, and 611th, for example, equipped with vehicles using the same gun, but placed on the Panzer 35R, so that's a Renault tank bottom, right? I digressed. That's typical. Almost from the start, due to unexpected Soviet resistance, the losses among German units began to mount. This was not as high as it was against Russian units. This was also the case with independent tank hunter battalions equipped with the Panzerjäger 1. For example, by late July 41, Panzerjäger Abteilung 529 lost 4 vehicles. By late November, the unit had only 16. 2 were not operational at its disposal. So it talks about other the experience, whatever. So here is, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. The use of the Panzerjäger in a support role against unarmored targets can be best described by the ammunition usage. Okay, so this is the ammunition usage that the Panzerjäger 1s used. Remember, they got 76 rounds of AP on and only 10 HE. From the start of Barbarossa until the end of 41, the Panzerjäger 1 units fired a total of 21,003 AP rounds and 31,095 HE rounds. So they fired 50% more rounds of HE than AP, and they carry 7 times more AP than HE on there. So, sounds like they didn't fight tanks very often. That was super interesting. Now, here's the other thing that I encountered, that this is the whole reason that I'm not filming with a phone, because I don't have access to this stuff. Engagements with enemy tanks also took place. A rather strange example comes from an action near Voronezh in August. Here it says 1940, but I'm sure it's 41. When one Panzerjäger 1 from Panzerjäger Abteilung 521 engaged a Soviet BT tank. When the BT crew, so this is a Panzerjäger 1, which I just got one of, and a BT tank, which I just got one of, engaging each other, one-on-one. I wonder if I'm going to play this out. When the BT crew spotted the Panzerjäger 1, the commander of the Soviet vehicle decided to ram the German tank destroyer. The Panzerjäger 1 managed to fire 2 shots at the incoming BT tank. After these hit, the BT tank caught fire but kept moving and rammed the Panzerjäger 1. So we're going to do that scenario, okay? We're going to do that scenario where there's that BT and my Panzerjäger, and they're going to face off. And the BT's got to keep moving at a high speed. It can fire, but it's got to keep moving at a high speed to try to ram him. And hopefully he makes it, because then we get to see what happens when vehicles ram each other. Ta-da! Like, yay! So, perfect. So, there's a lot of juicy stuff in it that's just hidden in places. Like, I wouldn't have thought that there was something really specific. I mean, that's a vignette. It's not a scenario. That's a vignette. So, there's all kinds of stuff in there. So, so the British stuff's going to have to wait. And of course the African Corps is going to wait as well. But we're going to go to Africa. We're going to go to Africa, and we're going to go to Africa this year. But from the little bit of research that I've been doing, very little, very, very, very little at the beginning. It seems like what I found out so far, and I'm going to have to write all this down, and I'm probably going to, if I'm diligent enough to put it on the computer, I'll probably put it on a document, share it. But I've got an audio book on the desert that's incredible. And I went ahead and got it in hardback too. So when I encounter something, because it's difficult to find something on an audio book and go back and find where it is. Okay, a book is real. So between that and the Panzer Truppen book and stuff that's in Tick's video, we're gonna get really specific on what's where. Not like, oh, it's a long barrel Panzer III. Which one is it? Yeah, that was on the Tank Encyclopedia site. You think it's just some generic thing. There's like really specific shit in there. It's like, gotta almost have to go in there and like, okay, today we're gonna read this article on whatever, and maybe see what kind of juicy shit you can pull out of there. But that's great, Okay. So let's pour ourselves a Coke. Coke Zero, of course. And let's fire this bitch up. Now, we're going to have to use the 0.5. Of course, I've covered all this stuff on here. So this one we decided to put on the tip is the 3.5. No. Why is he asking me if I want to do an update? This is the wrong time. This is the wrong time, Kato. We've got some build-up here. Let's put this together and make sure it's operating all right. Because we're going to have to do a thorough clean anyways after the black. And this is the tip for the 0.5. And then this goes on here. And then we'll need to wrenchificate this. Yeah, there's juicy tidbits everywhere. I saw that and I'm like, what the hell? It's like perfect. Like, okay, well, there's my excuse to do a scenario with those two vehicles. It's simple. It's two vehicles. Like, okay, that'll work. It's just a matter of if the 47 millimeter like hits a moving target. Okay. Now we are using the primer. So we're going to run this thing up pretty high. I've had good results about. No, actually, last time I ran it low. Actually, not last time I ran it low. I ran it into like the 25 or something like that. Of course, I also ran all the paint like at 15. So, which is if you read what people do, that's what they all do. They do really low pressure. So, but trying to do that, I did that with a white, and I was able to get better control. So, hey, I'm still learning. Still learning. My wife decided to buy these for the Hurricane. They're supposedly disposable cups out of aluminum. Man, they keep things really cold. They sweat like a bitch, but we're not disposing of them. They're reusable. Well, that's quite enough there. Gotta keep that down here. Okay. We're running about 20 psi. Oh. .22, something like that. Let's try that. Now, make sure everything's working properly. Let's just put some Jesus juice through here. Done? Okay. Now we'll put a little bit of black, make sure it's running just fine. right, now we got it going. All right, we're going to start with the T60. Keep it simple. Yeah, I'm not convinced that the BT7 isn't faster than a Hellcat. I put money that the BT7 is faster. The problem is that it probably breaks down pretty easy. I always say, oh, Hellcat's the fastest track vehicle. I think the BT7 is faster. Not reliable. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a BT7. All right, where are we going to grab this and we're not going to destroy this? This is going to be the challenge. Oh, let's. That may be what it is. It's faster on the road, which is really handy in Russia. Roads? We don't need no stinking roads. This shit's misbehaving today. Of course, I am running it lower than I ever have. It's just, let's keep working our way up. Okay, that's much better. Just going really gentle with this thing because this has so much freaking details. It's mind blowing. And I'll tell you what. Here's what I hate about 3D printed models. I don't want to build those pieces of junk that I have. I don't think I'm going to. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but my motivation to paint those is just basically going out the window. BP cast, I'm not building BP cast shit. No, I'll build these Skytrex tanks. They'll be okay. So the other thing I was thinking of, I'm not enjoying putting these things on bases very much. That doesn't mean I'm not going to put them on bases, but I may not put my snow things on bases. Yeah, those tanks are incredible, man. They're unbelievable. They're unbelievable. That Panzerjäger one is incredible. It's got better detail than a 1/35 scale model. ¿Qué pasó aquí? What's going on here, man? Is it too cold here? It's not really cold. It might be 70 degrees, maybe 68. I encountered somebody that already posted about complaining about being too cold in Florida. I said, oh, there you are. What do you mean? I said, oh, that first guy's going to complain about when the weather turns nice. I hate going outside and just for a moment and it's swamp ass. Like, that's unacceptable. All right. So this is the T60, all in black. Now, you see any of those horror pictures about the people with a resin that's split, that wasn't cured or something? Wow, that's horrible. Well, the reality is I don't want my figures to get screwed up because I can paint multiple tanks in the same time period it takes me to paint one figure. The figures take a lot longer. Painting tanks really is pretty easy. Alright, did we bring that little thing? Yeah, we did. The Betushka. And this has a thing for magnets, but it's scaled really for 156, so I don't need to put them in. If I have a magnet that works in there, fine, but I'm not going to worry about it. Ooh, this has got a nice bottom here to... We're going to put a lot of pressure on that. Seems like it's putting a lot of pressure on that. All right, let's do a couple things. Let's run it like this. Okay, that's good enough. Now, timer's giving a little bit of trouble. It's not too bad. And I don't need to airbrush the primer on figures. Hand painting, that works really well. But you don't want to hand paint this because going over like a really smooth area, you end up like taking the paint off as you go. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of slippery. So... I think cleaning it off the tip little by little is the trick. That's working pretty well. Well, the Kulan stuff is definitely pretty nice. Unfortunately, he doesn't make very many things, but I have seen pictures he's coming up with a whole slew of Stooks. So, yeah, that's super handy. Like, okay, I'll take 8 Stooks. Now, one thing I'm never going to get into, I'm not going to print this stuff myself. I'm not an expert. I don't have enough hobby time to do all of it. I'd like to do it if it wasn't frustrating. Honestly, I'd probably rather design the vehicles, but there's people that are much better at it. I'm not going to outdo Mr. Kulan. I mean, that's what he does. By the way, Chad shipped super quick. Super, super quick. I would have gotten it like in 2 days if it wasn't, Indigenous Peoples Day or whatever they decide to call it now. I know every time I order something, it always gets delayed by some ridiculous holiday that the rest of us working people work at, and other people just screw around and take it off. Was there a big protest in New York at Columbus Circle about Indigenous Peoples Day? I can see that happening in New York. Don't you live near there? I want to say you live near there. Well, the one time that we've been in New York a couple times, but the first time I went to New York, we stayed at these people's place that they weren't using, and it was near Columbus Circle. And I loved it. In the daytime. At night, you couldn't pay me to live in New York at night. Absolutely not. I don't like people coming up to me at night for anything. Hey man, no, stay the fuck away from me. I don't confront people at night. I'm from the South. You could get hurt doing shit like that. We want to look at this from all angles because you know what? These things are worth it. I don't care any of these three. This one happens to be a night sky one, which of all the designers was the least useful for me. They didn't make that many different things, but this BT is beautiful. And these are probably all vehicles that I'll probably get a second or a third of. You know, it's not like, oh, I want one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these, you know. I mean, at some point I want to get a Czech 35, and I'll probably get 4 of them for that platoon, so we can do that whole platoon action where that 1 KV stopped them dead in their tracks. We'll get there. Oh, yeah, we need to... What's going on here? Okay, it's coming out. Okay, it's coming out. Yeah, it's not going to be a singing show. I'm more of a dancer. Actually, a couple days ago, I got really frustrated with the BS that happens on the internet, Facebook in particular, with all these groups that have like wrong information. Like somebody that's like the admin of the group will say, "Hey, here's a king tiger," and it's like a puma or something, you know. And I'm like, the first thing I thought of is, oh, this is all AI generated and bullshit. And then somebody's comment kind of alerted me to the fact that. And I'm just a person. I just tell it like it is. I mean, I just tell it like, you know, if I tell you what my opinion is, that's what it is. I don't like make believe shit. But one guy kind of hinted to there's these posts that specifically put wrong information down so that there's interaction between the viewers and so it screws with the algorithm and you'll see more of their posts more often. I'm like, that's too much work, man. That's too much work to be, you know, obfuscation, all that stuff. I guess I'd never make a good telemarketer. But I'm like, why would you put wrong information out there? You know, it sends people off a cliff like lemmings. I guess there's just a lot of people in this world that have their heart in the wrong place. And I just don't operate that way. Looking forward to deep dive in North Africa. Got to run the night beyond the early AM if you sneak in a session. I think I'll be able to. Yeah, it's going to be like a deep dive, like, let's peel back the layers of this onion, you know? And we're going to, you know, we're not going to touch on everything. We're going to touch on the stuff that's, you know, related to, you know, markings on vehicles and where this one was and, you know, how many Panzer IIIs were there and what kind were they and, you know, what would they have been marked on? You know, that kind of stuff. You know, the stuff that I'm interested in. Because there's a lot of stuff in any conflict that just doesn't interest me at all. Hey, I can't be into everything. Okay, I think this is good enough. Now, let's make sure this is secure. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be challenging. This is a job for this silly putty stuff. The masking stuff, which is it's really a weird thing. But it also doubles as blue tack. I think that's what this is. Yep, sure enough. It'll melt. It's constantly moving. It's almost like lava in a way. It's constantly moving, but it has a lot of good uses. You know, like you can be like, I hope I don't fuck this up by doing this. I wish this was a little bit rougher. But you can put this here and then attach the turret here. And then it's pretty well attached, so we're gonna spray this on here. But if you wait like a couple days, it'll end up like smearing out. It'll end up smearing out. And I think I know how I'm going to paint this thing. It's not going to be 3-color. I don't mind doing a 3-color one, but like we're not going to do it on this first one. Okay. And then we'll leave it on there just for the time being. All right, now let's get into the other ones here. Waltzing Matilda. I think the Matilda is another one of those tanks I think everybody likes. There's some tanks that like you can't say, oh, I don't like this. Like, I mean, I would have thought the Puma was the same thing. The Puma armored car, everybody likes the Puma armored car. Except this one guy. Spitfire, everybody likes the Spitfire. Actually encountered somebody who didn't like the Spitfire. Well, go fly a kite up your ass. Because everybody likes the Spitfire. Even people that were shot down by the Spitfire like the Spitfire. Right? Panther, everybody likes a Panther. I'm not saying it's your favorite freaking tank, but like everybody likes a Panther. It's a good looking tank. I'm not talking about, hey, this is the best tank in the world. No, I don't think there's a tank that can cover all that stuff. And I like lots of stuff that's just trash. It doesn't mean I want to serve in it. It just means that I find it interesting. I want to build more of them. All right. We're out of that little bit. So they actually went quite a ways. I'm not gonna put too much of that stuff down. Like I said, the thing about airbrushing, the very first, if I can teach you guys anything about airbrushing, I'm not here to teach anybody. I'm not an expert on this, and never will be. What I have is persevered in the challenge that airbrushing has been. I have persevered. But the one thing I can tell you about airbrushing is don't make any fucking plans. Don't have this idea, oh, this will just take a moment. You don't know. It could jam, may not work. So, And I got the patience for this. I don't have the patience for 3D printing. Because let's say this takes a long time to do, or it doesn't come out how I want it. I can just reprint it. I can just repaint it, or fix it, or whatever. Your 3D printing stuff, and the thing you just made is now useless, and you have to start over. And you're disappointed because you thought it was going to work. You know, because a lot of this, like this will screw up while you're doing it, right? A 3D print, I'll leave it. I'll come back and get it when you come back from work. When you come back from work and it's a disaster. You know, maybe you're at work for 8-10 hours, and you get something going and it's going great, and 15 minutes after you leave, something went sideways. You don't know about it. You don't find out until you're done with work and you're like, oh, I can't wait to paint this. And like, wop, 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 wop. You know? So I don't have the personality for that. I do have the personality for, this is going to take a while to paint this. No problem. We'll keep chugging along. We're not all made the same. Some people are good or can tolerate things that other people would find intolerable. Waiting for the next person to say, hey, why do you prime black? Why do you not? Hey, they prime black from the Heavy Metal Painting Guide from 1993. And I didn't even do Warhammer stuff, and I had that. I guess I have two of them. Heavy Metal Painting Guide, and the other one's called War Games Figures or something like that. A lot of the stuff that they do is still solid. Not the basing. They got the goblin green basing with the fuzzies. Well, that's what my stuff was on. Unfortunately, this is semi-gloss, which means that sometimes you need to turn this in different areas so you can make sure that it's going on like it's supposed to. So I'm interested in trying the AK 3rd edition or whatever paints. So I decided to look up what exactly is this AK MiG ammo stuff, and now they got Atom. Like, what does that all mean? Is it all the same company? Are they competing companies? And holy shit, there's a lot of drama behind it. And I don't want to get into it. There's videos of it or what have you. I don't want to pick sides or anything, but I can tell you that the ammo MiG paints, I don't like to hand paint them with them. They're very, very watery. It doesn't mean I won't. It just means I don't like to. It's not a pleasant experience, okay? But airbrushing, these things are spectacular. Now, they got the Atom ones, which are supposed to be a little bit better. The 3rd edition AK, see, it all started with AK, and then Ammo MiG split off and did something else, because it was like a cooperation between a couple different people. So the AK still makes some of this stuff. Their 3rd edition one is supposed to be better for brushing, which I'm wondering if they're going to be worse for airbrushing. And I have the counter paint set for that. But I also, when I went to Spray Gunner last time, I actually bought the base color of the counter schemes. Meaning, there's basically, the counter schemes is basically two desert yellows. One of them is like a really light, like a bone color. I don't remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head. And the other one is more yellowy, okay? And I've got those in the AK paint. So I'm probably, if those 3rd edition ones don't work, I'll probably use those 2 bottles for the overall color, and then for the detail lines and stuff that I'm probably more comfortable hand painting anyways, we can use the 3rd edition paints for those. But that's just me thinking ahead. You know, I could change my mind at any moment, and sometimes I do, you know, but... Alright, I'm actually going to remove this from here, okay? And I'm actually going to go ahead and hold this upside down and spray all these areas around the bottom. Okay, because If something's showing, I want it to be black. Okay, because it doesn't draw attention to itself. All right. So we put that the BT7 turret is oh. The BT7 turret is done. Now we're going to use this same goopy. Let's put it tall so that when we push down on this, it'll help give it a better purchase. And here's the turret for the Matilda. Let's make sure this. But the Matilda is actually apparently a really small tank. Diminutive, almost. Ooh. Big words. Oh, that's a big word I use. There's some big words I don't use. My favorite big word to use that I use all the time, and some people don't know how to deal with it, is reconnaissance. I say it all the time. I'm gonna go do a recon. A what? I'm gonna go find shit. That's what I'm gonna go do. But if you're a war gamer, use that all the time. Now I don't say. What do you guys in the UK say? Recce? That's weird. It's also weird to have a hard C sound in that word. I would think it'd be Reese. But and this is why I did the 2 tanks I want to definitely paint tonight first. Because this stuff is drying. I don't know if this is supposed to dry for 24 hours, but I don't wait that kind of time. That's just... That 24 hours was created by people like, oh, I couldn't paint it right afterwards. Well, dude, you got to wait for it to dry. I mean, you can't get crazy and expect it to work well. Okay, there's the turret for the A12. British Infantry Tank Mark II. I believe that's the official terminology for it. Okay. We're gonna prime the Italian one? Let's not prime the Italian one. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with the hatch. Let's do the A13, which also has a 2-pounder gun, but this gun is definitely a lot more less durable. This has a solid bottom. So hopefully we don't scratch the surface there. What we really don't want is this to fall on the ground. Oh, this thing's already... I've got a bad feeling about this. Okay. Welcome, folks. Just a little spray session. Grab a seat, pull up a drink. I really do like to talk about drinking. And I never do. Makes me sleepy. Or dehydrates me and I get a headache. brushing this at, anyways? Under 40. Yeah, lowering this just means a lot less paint's coming out. And you don't really need that much paint. You don't need to drown this in black. I figure I'd do this tonight because the wife's got some friends over. And not that, I have a problem being in there, but might as well. I got to do this anyway, so. I'm going to spray, I think what I can get to here. I know you guys can't see it, so I apologize for that, but. When this runs out, I'm going to go ahead and clean it out and start over. It's always a good idea to do that with this with the primer. It's so much more finicky than any other paint that I use. I'd put that in there that I use. I'm sure there's lots of finicky paint, but I don't have time for that. Okay, so this is out. So the first thing we're going to do with this. And I wouldn't listen to those people where do paper towels go? They gone? Okay. I wouldn't listen to those people that say you can thin that to be able to thin. Sure you can, but you're going to have adverse effects. This stuff is not meant to be thinned. This is not a water-based paint. It's water cleanup. Hey, the Imperator, what's up? Not sure if you're doing infantry to go with your tank, but I saw that Battle Valor Games put out several ranges of World War II and modern troops in 20mm. The latest being Brit LRDG for North Africa. Well, wanted to mention them in case you hadn't seen them. Battle Valor, I came across Battle Valor a couple of months ago because they, just by accident, they carry all of the combat miniatures, which is what got me into this scale to begin with. I went to a hobby store in Tampa. I saw that they had these beautiful sculpts by Dave Alsop, and I was sold on doing 20mm. So that's actually what sold me on this scale. That, and I used to do it when I was a kid. Battle Valor just happens to have a lot of the castings apparently, and at least one of my viewers bought from them and said they had a good experience. I have already gotten all of the Battle Valor figures that I need, save maybe one pack of something. However, when I bought them previously, the alloy that was used had a higher amount of lead, so it's extremely bendy. So I'm going to have to replace a few of my Japanese, but I'm going to wait until I actually paint all the other ones before I get them. But those are my favorite figures. That the Dave Alsop figures. There's nothing that even comes close to them, in my opinion. I just love them. Absolutely love them. It's what got me to do this in the first place. So they didn't make British Long Range Desert Group stuff. So I'm wondering what sculptor it is for, because I'm kind of picky about sculptors. There'll be like some manufacturer that people. I'll take a look at them, Chris. Thanks for the heads up. People are really picky about sculptors. Like, I wasn't so picky when I was doing 15mm ancients and medievals. Even the old crappy ones, like the people I'm not building those whatever feudal castings or whatever. I'm like, I'll paint them. I love mixing them in and stuff like that. But when you're talking about World War II stuff, I'm a little bit more picky about rifle sizes and stuff like that. Although you paint them up nice and pretty much everything works. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to deal with the hassle of it. But there's a couple of figure manufacturers that I detest in 20mm, and they're prolific. One of them is FAA. I detest FAA. Their figures all look like Eddie from Iron Maiden. If you know what I'm talking about, then go look at their figures. That's exactly what they look like. Everybody looks the same, and they all look like Eddie from Iron Maiden. Not exactly what I want. Maybe if you're doing like an army of zombies, that would work, But and then Britannia was the other one. Britannia that had everybody with a very large head and very pronounced features. And it didn't matter whether you were a SS or you were Japanese, your face looked the same. But they were prolific. I mean, they literally made everything. And so yeah, I wouldn't touch those. But much more than 15 mils because I like all the Essex and the Old Glories and minifigs and all that kind of stuff. For the most part, almost every 15 millimeter figure is pretty darn decent and mixable if you do it right. I'm out of ice. I gotta be right back for ice. Right back, folks. You mentioned Long Range Desert Group. What was that movie that they put on Apple? Was that on Apple or whatever? What it was called? Did you like that? I tried to watch it with my daughter. I think we watched 2 episodes and it didn't resonate with us. I mean, I like AC/DC. It just doesn't belong in World War II. Oh, it was done for a reason. Yeah, the wrong reason. Or maybe the same reason they put hippie music in Kelly's Heroes. It just doesn't go. What was it called? Anyways, it didn't grab me. If I'm doing North Africa, maybe I'll paint it again. I'll look at for some of the colors and stuff like that. But I looked at all the scenarios that I needed. Grew up with Rat Patrol. Rat Patrol was never on. I saw growing up, I saw 2 episodes of Baa Baa Black Sheep. Watched a lot of Hogan's Heroes because it was available. Rat Patrol. Rat Patrol is one of those things that, we got to put Americans in it so people can relate. What the fuck are the Americans doing there, She loves my Glock. Well, I'm a Beretta guy, so you just enjoy that. Good evening, sir. Oh, man. So, yeah, I didn't get to watch all that stuff, you grow up, you're probably 10 years older than I am, 12 years old or something like that. So, back then, you had to watch whatever was on, so, I wanted to watch TV, I'm 9, 10, 11 years old. I want to watch TV on Sundays. What is there to watch TV on Sundays? 700 Club? No. Or, I got to change the chat to the other chat. Lost in Space. So I fucking watched Lost in Space. Is it great? No, but at least it was in color, So, that was, now people have access to everything and don't appreciate it. And I mean, I don't appreciate it either because I'm I'll go and watch somebody will recommend a show and I'll be 10 minutes into it and I'm like, okay. What do I think about cars lowered with camber? Oh, it's going to be a car. It's going to be a car episode. Well, there's a lot of things I don't like, but that's fine, I don't like them, but they make more sense than pickup trucks that are raised to the front. Combat was another good one. A lot of those are black and white, though. I mean, if I can see black and white footage, I might as well just watch the real footage, right? Cars lowered with camber, yeah, not my thing. Not my thing. We're going to talk about cars? We can talk about cars. I don't have a lot to say about cars. I don't believe in drifting. I think if you're drifting, you're taking the turn too fast. I'm a handling guy. And even playing driving games on the computer, Xbox, whatever. I'm not a driving is a controlled drifting is a controlled crash. So, but different people are into different stuff. I'm disappointed with people and hobbies. And here's what I'm going to get into it. It doesn't matter whether you're into wargaming, which is basically my main hobby. We would go out and do target shooting as well, Mitch and I. So that was a secondary one, and cars. I've been to cars and I've been to events. I've been to events and competitions. And competitions from the standpoint of like, okay, let me see if I can do better with my skills and improve. Not against other people, because we all have different backgrounds. It'd be like, okay, let's have a painting competition with Tony. Well, I've been doing it for freaking 40 years. And yeah, I'm super anal retentive, and maybe somebody else isn't. So it's not really fair to compete, on that kind of a level, all right? But in all three of those things, half the people there I don't want to interact with. They're just assholes. If you have something, there's a lot of people when you have a hobby. There's not a lot of people in a hobby. Certainly not wargaming. Okay, to begin with, you don't encounter anybody on the, on a daily basis. At least I don't. That you wargame with. So it's a very niche group. And when you encounter somebody, and half the time it's somebody that either is a poor sport, or they've never bathed this month. Or, there's just so many negatives. It's like, man, I just don't want to deal with this kind of nonsense, But you encounter some of these people also that have a hard time saying something nice about somebody. So, like, if you go to a car show, like I went, I was going to go to a car show. I went to a car show, the first one I went to, a couple of years ago. And, we show up in this, and it was like, if I see something that's cool, I like telling somebody. Like, I was at a parking lot, okay? I was at a parking lot at the grocery store. Squatted trucks, like, raised in the front. You can't see, dude. But you can do whatever you want. I mean, this is America. You can do whatever you want. At least you could before. I don't know. Just be safe. There's a lot of people that have a hard. If I see so I was in a parking lot. I got out of the grocery store, and there was this guy in a Mustang, and I'm not a fan of domestic cars. I'm just not. Doesn't mean I like all foreign cars. I'm just not a domestic. I'm not a fan of domestic cars. It's a shame because we made the best stuff in World War II. Now, anyways, but regardless, the guy had a Mustang, which I'm not a. Mustangs are like 1911s. Okay. Mustangs are exactly like 1911s. Most of the time, I don't like them. But sometimes you encounter one that's just like gorgeous. And this guy had a beautiful Mustang. So I said, I don't really like Mustangs, but your car's beautiful. Just figure you want to know. Just say something nice to somebody. Now, if the guy's a dickhead, yeah, ignore him. But some people just have a hard time saying something nice to somebody. You don't have to get on your knees, but. Does that make any sense? There's just, especially when it's in a hobby, you don't have to be nice to everybody, but you're like, if you're into something that's very specific, and you encounter somebody else with that really specific interest, be nice to each other. Like, why is there this, So I went to the Subaru Fest a couple of weeks ago, and I don't even know why I go, because it's kind of, it's just a thing to do. But one of the things I like doing the most is you encounter people on the road, driving the same kind of vehicles, and you kind of convoy with them. So I'm going through the Ocala National Forest, which is basically a 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere. And there was this group of cars that were waiting. I guess they were waiting on one of their buddies. And there's 3 of them. And I didn't try to, and it's like, oh, they're WRXs. Okay. So I catch up to them, and I realize that there's a thing going, and I'm just kind of enjoying riding with them, and I didn't pass them. I didn't go in there and start mixing up and being a dick. I'm like, it's just kind of cool, just doing that, I enjoy that scene for for whatever it's worth. You know, and we got to one point where it went to 4 lanes, and they stacked up on one side, and the lone guy was in the left-hand lane, so I got behind him. So we're 2 and 2, and then nobody had to say anything. When the light turned green, we all floored it and we went up together. You know, we didn't go 90 miles an hour or anything like that. And then we just went back. It was just kind of cool to have, you know, kind of a camaraderie moment, you know. And I don't know if those guys were dickheads in real life or whatever, but I enjoyed that, you know. But I'm like, okay, they have a thing going. I'm not like going, hey, let me pass in there and get it. You know, just be decent to each other. You know, when you have a common interest, just be decent to each other. That's all. But of all the hobbies that I mentioned, wargaming is damn near free. This is like a free hobby compared to shooting in cars and boats. Man, boats are, I don't do boats. That's at it. That's, you know, no, I don't have that kind of expendable income. And I'm not at keeping up with the Joneses stuff. Like, you know, everything costs money, and none of us have money to do everything, right? I do airbrush, but I'm relatively new to it. I've only been doing it a couple of years. But I've improved a lot. But not, you know, painting cars or anything like that. That's a different animal. Actually, I wish I had access to a lift. I would do more. Because I'm a YouTube junkie. Like, I want to do something. Hey, what's up, Darren? I'll find out, like, hey, how do I do this on my vehicle? And if I'll watch the video and I'll go like, okay, so it's step by step, like, okay, I can handle that or I can't handle it. But not having a lift, it's difficult. I don't want to do anything crazy, but, you know, like I've switched out my lights and, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it is for some of these things. You know, it's difficult to get in there and do stuff. But first thing I did on my vehicle, speaking of things you don't like, I absolutely hate daytime running lights. I won't drive a car that has them, okay? And we're not even going to talk about the engine that stops on you in the middle of... ever thought about pinstriping type of airbrush? No. No, there's some things like I just leave for other people to do. You know, I'm our Jack of already enough trades. But the first thing I did to my vehicle is, this is the first vehicle I've ever had that had daytime running lights. And, oh, you can't disable them. Bullshit. I found a way to disable them, and you cover in a plastic bag. So I'm like the only WRX I've ever seen that doesn't have daytime running lights. Because the first ticket I ever got when I was 16 years old was for having a headlight out. So I don't want headlights going when I don't need them, you know? And also, like, it looks silly. Like, what are your headlights on, dude? It's like the middle of the day. I don't know. So I don't like daytime running lights. I don't like things that they put in vehicles to basically make you dumb. You know, like I don't want automatic headlights that turn on. You know, I'll get in my wife's car. It's like, you turn the automatic headlights on. I said, because it's habit. You get in it, it's time to turn them, and you turn them on. And it's like you're pre-programmed to having to do that stuff. You know, you forget to do that, and the next thing you know, you go back to a normal car, and you don't have them on, and you end up getting a ticket or something like that. Or, you know, or worse, nobody sees you. So I don't like anything that dumbs you down. I don't want the, you know, the lane change stuff. I don't want that. I want Bluetooth, air conditioning, a third pedal. What else? That's it. I can live with just all that stuff. Actually, I don't want to airbrush anything that's not acrylic. Because the reason I even got an airbrush to begin with is I don't want to use rattle cans anymore. They're just... I used rattle cans for the modeling for this company called Model Master, which was a subsidiary of, well, it was part of the Testers, and it was their high quality one. And their paint was really high quality. But Testers I used it for many, many, many decades. And... Testers got bought out by Rust-Oleum, and just about anything that gets bought out, the consumer gets screwed, okay, when there's a buyout. They kept all the shitty brands that aren't any good, but they discontinued all the Model Master stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do for my clear coat? And what am I going to do for my black base coat? So I'm like, oh, well, we got this Krylon stuff and things like that, right? So now instead of having a container that's this big, I've got one that's this big, and it's like half the price because those little Model Master things kept getting up and up and up in price. So I'm like, cool. Well, maybe this is a good thing. But those big containers, the quality, I mean, they clog. And I've been using spray cans my whole life. They clog. Never had a clog problem before. It's this much, and when you get about a third of the way down, you can't use the rest of it. It's poor quality. It smells horrible. I mean, think spray can enamel paint, it has a smell, right? And it's not a pleasant smell. Even though I've heard some people that are into smells that you would think, like, why are you into this? And I'm not talking about, kinky stuff. I'm talking about people that like the smell of gasoline. Like, I actually know one person that's like, yeah, I like the smell of gas. I'm like, the fuck's wrong with you, man? I mean, spray, model glue and stuff like that. I mean, it has a smell. It's not a pleasant smell, but it's not something I want to, like, huff or something, or, work in some place that is a confined thing, because I do have a fan. This is a really big garage, and I have a fan blowing this way, so I don't feel like I'm using a tiny little amount of paint. It has zero smell. So, but I mean, like the rattle cans were getting really, really bad. Like, I would spray with an open garage all the way at the end of it, and my wife would be like, "What the hell are you doing out here? Why does it smell so bad?" I'm like, "Yeah, it fucking smells really, really bad because they changed the formula in all their paint." So I'm like, for health reasons or for quality of life reasons, I'm like, I got to get an airbrush, and even if I just use it for priming and for sealing, that's good enough for me. And I've along the years, the last couple of years, I've gotten a little bit more bold with it. I've got it where it's not jamming on me every time I use it. I watch some videos, and there's always agendas in videos. Always agendas. You're always like, somebody is like either a fanboy of something, or they'll tell you all the positive and none of the negative, and just about everything has a negative part. And just be upfront and clear, I was having so much stuff with this, so many problems with this primer, so I watched lots of videos, and it wasn't until I came across somebody that said, oh, just get a 0.5 needle, because this comes with a 0.35 needle. The 0.35 needle in this stuff doesn't work. And this primer I'm really happy with it, but it's too thick to go through a 0.35. And you can get it, but every 10 seconds I'm having to bang on it to loosen stuff up. It becomes really frustrating when you're having that much trouble with something in a hobby that you never encounter any issues with. Like, I don't encounter any problems with this that I can't deal with. It's like super empowering to work on models and paint stuff. Because it's like, oh, okay. Maybe something didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Okay, well, I've got the skills to fix it. Or you can start doing it enough times, you can start seeing when things are going sideways, and you go, okay, we can't continue going down this road, because if I keep doing it this way, I'm not going to be happy with the results. And you find that out 10% of the way through the process, not when you're almost done, and that's just experience, But airbrushes are all over the place. So, you people say, oh, well, you buy a cheap airbrush. I said, you're saving on the airbrush, and you're creating frustration for yourself. So if you save $100 on an airbrush, but it causes you $400 worth of stress, did you really save anything? But I don't try to convert anybody. Some people are like, why don't you paint 28 millimeter? I don't paint 28 millimeter. I don't. As the Frenchman says, mind your own business. I don't do 28 mil. I didn't grow up playing with it. I never have. I don't try to convert anything. Why you prime everything in black? Because that's what I started doing in the 90s, and that's what I like. I'll have to check out those figures, Chris, the Long Range Desert Group, and see what it is. There's the guys that used to carry combat miniatures in the UK. I don't remember what the name of their company is, and there's some drama as to whether Stonewall's the name of it. There was some drama as far whether or not you were using the molds and they weren't supposed to. I'm not picking sides. I heard that, but they have an extensive. It looked like they added more of the combat figures, but they didn't. They're ones that, yeah, they're in that range, but they're a totally different style, because the guy who made the combat miniatures, he probably passed away about when I discovered them in the early 90s. He was in a car accident, and I've heard different versions of exactly what happened to him. I want to say someone told me that, and I don't know if it's true or not, that he was working on a car, and the car rolled on him. See, I wouldn't call that a car accident, If I'm working on a car and the car falls on me, that's not a car accident. That's well, you got to come up with another category for that. That's not when somebody says, just like I don't like saying, oh, you got run over by a car. To me, somebody gets run over by a car is at least one wheel is physically going completely over one part of your body. An appendage, your midsection, something, your head. I guess that would be an appendage. That is getting run over by a car. You stepping in front of the car and the car hitting you, and, well, that was emphatic, and you go flying in the opposite direction. That's not getting run over by a car. That's, you're bullfighting with the car and you didn't win, So I don't really know what happened to him, but it's a shame because, I've said before, I don't have heroes, but if I had to pick one, it would be him because that's how good of a sculptor he is, and I was just in sync with his style. So, and he had a particular style of stuff. Like, he did a lot of the stuff for Old Glory, and I could pick out the figures that he did. I'm like, that's an Alsop casting, They have a particular look, almost like a oil painting. They're kind of oil painting looking. A tiny little bit ragged, Yeah, this is taking longer than it normally does because I'm going to do a good job with these things. These prints are incredible, and I got to up my game. I got to up my paint game. I want to up my paint game on these things. They deserve it. A13 done. Well, at least the body is. Now the turret, and this 2-pounder gun is just absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, true story. I would, and I know why you can't do it. But I would love it if there was some place locally where, once a week, everybody would come in and bring their cars, and be decent to each other and use a community lift and just hang out, have a beer. I know you can't have beer and drive. Yeah, you can. Be responsible, Have you ever been to a gathering where there was alcohol served and you knew you had to drive out of there, so you did the responsible thing and control yourself. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Responsibility is empowering. I know lots of people don't like that, but it is. Knowing you have the means of killing somebody and then just not doing it. It's empowering. But that would be cool. I would be totally down for that. As a matter of fact, the next town, not the next town over, but the closest large town, Jacksonville, has a really vibrant Subaru route, but it's an hour and a half away from me. Like, I can't go there on a freaking Wednesday night and take part in that. And who knows if I'd even enjoy it, but I'm just saying, it'd just be cool to have something like that. All right, I'm going to have to... Oh, I don't have the super readers on. Well, we're about to change that. Those are just 125s. These are 375s. Oh, yeah, baby. Let's get this out of the way. We do our own stunts here. Yeah, the girls are in the house, and I figured I need to do this anyways. There's no point in showering. Not that I'm filthy or anything, but there's no point in showering and then coming back out to the garage. And I'm getting better. I'm getting to the point where I can pretty much get everywhere with the airbrush and not super saturate all the other stuff next to it. It's a little difficult to find sometimes because it's slightly glossy, and that's what kind of throws you off. All right, so this thing, that one can dry. Okay, we got the super readers on, so let's take a look at this A13 and see if we're happy with. Nope, we're not. We need a little in there. Somebody said you could use a little bit of retarder in here and to keep it from building up on the end, but I don't want to taint the formula of this primer at all, because it's really finicky. It's not the same as regular paint. Not the same as regular Vallejo paint. It is a different animal. Yep. Yep. Yeah, we're getting better. But as you can see, it's not quick. So that's why I bring you guys along. I don't like doing this and just sitting here. Even though the interaction between you guys is kind of limited, I don't want to sit here and and be antisocial. I had my buddy in the mid '90s. He used to come over on Wednesday nights and we'd paint. And sometimes we'd have a beer, and if we had that second beer, that's it. No more painting was going to happen. But it ended up becoming a social activity, painting. Which is rare that people do that, and it's rare really to find people that even want to paint. Uh-oh, we have a... Okay, we better watch that. It's kind of a delicate tank. This one's a hell of a lot more robust. No, we didn't miss any spots there. How's BT7 looking? I hope we didn't miss any spots there, because this thing needs to be dry when we get to green. No, we're good. Okay. Done with that? All right, what's next? The M10. M10 Tank Destroyer. And I'm actually going to leave this in pieces. I'm not going to glue it until it's together. And I'm going to paint this even though it's going to end up having a accoutrement on it, like baggage and all that kind of stuff. The Americans in particular were prolific baggage handlers on their vehicles. I think it makes them look cool. Alright, where can we clip this? I've been wanting one of these a long time. If you're playing a small scale game that's a skirmish type set with infantry as the main thing, it's nice having vehicles that are open topped because then they're not invulnerable. Like, you got to keep your distance or you're going to catch a grenade in there and then you got some real problems. What are you doing on pressure here? I'm going to dial it up a little bit. Maybe it'll clog a little bit less. It's not too bad. Let's go up another 5 pounds. I don't like that. You could see the droplets a little bit more. Supposed to get under 60 degrees tonight, which, you know, some people would cry about that, but hey, that's free air conditioning, man. What time is it? 9:30? So the nice thing is these don't weigh anything. When you're trying to paint things that are made of white metal, they're super, super heavy. So if you have them clamped on like this, it's got to be like really secure or they'll end up on the ground. That actually happened with my T-34s. Now, luckily I used epoxy, so they stayed together. But still, you know, you don't want to do that. That's a bad habit to continue. it's kind of hard to tell, but the lighting in here is spectacular. It's just kind of coming from the wrong direction. This really needs to be over here, and it isn't in this setup. And there's actually 2 more plugs in the roof, so you can put 2 more lights up there. It's brighter than daytime. I might actually do that. Come out here to war game in the garage. I'm a big fan of brightness. Too many people will be like, man, I don't like your painting style. It's too dark. I said, well, that's because the lighting in here sucks. You know, I paint with like an OT light. And now LED lights all in the house. So I got like perfect freaking lighting. I don't want to paint in a cave. But this is going really well because it's not really jamming. Just cleaning that tip from time to time. Not putting too much paint down. Because this primer really starts to dry pretty quick. It ends up getting like that, like this film on the top, almost like the cheese on a French onion soup. It starts building up on that. This is the color that takes the longest because you want this black on everything. If you end up airbrushing, like let's say the olive drab on here, and you don't get it everywhere, where are you not going to get it? In the shadows, which is supposed to be dark anyways. So it's okay. But if you have something that's supposed to be represent shadows and it's lighter than something that's just a flat surface, it's going to look wrong. It's going to look like there's something wrong with this, and I can't put my finger on what it is. Okay. How many more of these things? Oh, we got plenty of these things. Probably need to pick up some more of them, but I already bought 2 sets of them. Some of these end up being duds. Just make sure you're secure enough before I end up giving you something. I don't want this thing to hit the ground. I've already had to replace this. I've already had to repair this thing once when I got it, which was relatively easy to do. It was within my skill set. Okay. Why are you spittle spattering? It's all due to that little nozzle, which doesn't happen when it's not the primer. It's really behaved really well, though. It's actually the first time I've actually cleaned it like that. It's actually working really well. Some people on one of the modeling sites commented, I don't want to get into them, but they commented, I don't know how you guys like build everything and then paint it. I paint as I go. I like paint things on sprues and then assemble it. I'm like, man, I don't want to like paint something and then I gotta scrape some of it so the glue will stick to it. I'm not doing that. I can reach anything with a paintbrush that I can see. Ooh, the bottom of this is sealed. Okay. Let's pull this off. We'll go ahead and paint the bottom of the Matilda turret while we have that. This is behaving. We're almost done. Literally, this is like the next piece. I should paint the Italian one. You know what? I'm not going to because I need to paint the green. Because it's got to dry enough for me to wash it tonight. So that way we can start working on them tomorrow morning. And although the Italian tank is cool, I know it's not a very good tank. That doesn't mean it isn't cool. Well, it isn't. Doesn't mean that to me. Some people are like, oh, it can't be cool if it's a piece of shit. Well, yeah, it can. Could be a cool piece of shit. You guys ever like something and you like it, even though it's not the best at something? Yeah. Doesn't matter. Got personality. Like I think a Soviet T-35 tank is cool. It's a piece of shit, but it's neat. All right, how confident are we in this? Let's see. We still have ammo to glue in there, but we can do that afterwards. Hey, it's not an armor fast M10. This one actually has a gun breech. People still airbrush with compressed air cans. That's like, man, it takes you no time. By the time you buy a compressor, it takes you no time to break even. I mean, an airbrush with a tank isn't that expensive. It's only expensive if you buy something and you don't use it. That's expensive. You buy something, you think, oh, I'm going to use this, and you never use it. That's a waste of money. But this is a cheap hobby. All you got to do is just work on the stuff that you buy. Don't be buying stuff and don't do anything with it. Like, let's say you build a tank model. How long is it going to take you to build it, paint it? 3-4 hours? That's the price of a movie. It at least takes you twice as much effort as it. It's really pretty inexpensive. Even though, models are a lot more expensive than they used to be. I really like the style of this turret, this shape that it has. Triangular, but yet not. I always liked it. Okay, so we have a little bit of this primer left. So let's go ahead and, now, we know we're going to get rid of it. So let's go ahead and scoop it out. Now we got no viewers. Oh yeah, this is just, we got a big scum level on this. Alright, nothing we can't deal with. Honestly, I'm surprised it was even working considering how thick that is. Oh, that's still live. I actually don't mind reusing some of those paper towels once the paint is dry. Otherwise you're smearing mess on something else. Where is it? Here. Now, we got enough of that out. Now we can add some of this, and it could do some good. And we're going to bump this pressure up to, hell, probably 50 or 55. Blow this crap out of here. Blow it out! Where is that? Nope, not that one. I know what I'm looking for. There you are. Perfect. Yeah, the first time I used this thing, man, I got so many jams. It took me so long to fix it. Now I think I figured out what not to do. Don't do that. Or figure out what seems to have worked the best. Stick to that. There's a little. There's a little black spot on the sun today. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. All right. Now, wrench. I'm actually, you know what? There's some black shit on the front here. Let's use my secret weapon. Hand sanitizer. Make sure you pull the needle in, though, so you don't draw blood. Because that needle is very sharp, and it loves to eat fingers. Oh, yeah. All vestiges of black are gone from there. Excellent. Now, we will use the wrench, because not tighten, even though you can tighten this with your hand, tightening with the wrench makes all the difference, and it keeps those damn air bubbles from coming in. Ever since I started doing that, I haven't had any air bubble issues. I'm going to pull this in a little bit more. I want to make sure that it's not into this, so that I can move this laterally and we're okay. All right, I'm going to push this all the way out, and we're going to clean this, which is really watery paint. None of this is really thick or anything. And we're going to get this needle and put it right over here out of the way. All right, and then we're going to get we want to give this a decent cleaning, since we're going to change to paint that is a lot easier to keep clean. Honestly, this went really well, considering this paint is very antisocial. Now, where is this? This would probably work just fine. I'm going to run a little bit of hand sanitizer on the front there. Man, it cleans that totally like it's never ever had paint run through it. And toothbrush. Wow. Yep, I'm claiming that discovery. Somebody else might have done that, but my discovery to painting is hand sanitizer. And I'm sure somebody else came up with it before I did, but I didn't hear about them. I don't want to take credit from somebody else, but I didn't hear anybody say that. Otherwise, I would have been like, man, you're a fucking genius. This is like the super bestest cleaning this thing's ever had. Because we want those other colors to go on there nicely. Okay. Alright, we got this thing totally clean. That's the 0.5 needle. We're not going to use it anymore. We're going to go to the 0.35. And this thing is good to go. And this is the part where I would look through the window, see if I could see light through it. But since it's dark out there, that doesn't work. So we'll just have to assume that it's clear. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this as well. I'm going to go ahead and fill this thing in. I don't believe I've ever done this. And let's clean this thing good. Yeah, this is the little brush that came with it. Because the hand sanitizer dissolves everything. Well, all this acrylic paint. And somebody said, hey, well, whatchamacallit works just as good, just rubbing alcohol. No, it doesn't. I did that live. It doesn't work. It doesn't work with the shit. And other brands of hand sanitizer may not work. I'm just telling this Purell stuff. And I've discovered it by accident. Oh, that's pretty fucking clean. All right. We got a new airbrush. And there's a way you can take this whole thing apart. But I don't think that's necessary. And even you can even read the manual. They say it's not that necessary. Let's load the 0.35, which I put a little on top of it so I can remember which one's which. We'll give it a coating of this hand sanitizer to make sure it's completely clear. I'm going way over the top, like I don't usually spend this much time on it. But you know, I've been airbrushing for a couple years, and this airbrush deserves this kind of attention to detail. All right, let's pull it past the end, and let's put the nozzle and not drop it on the ground. And then we will put this on the end. Wrench it. Because if you don't wrench it, you get air bubble issues. And if you had them, you know what I'm talking about. And wonder why it's not protruding out. Let's pull this in. Pull this out. Pull this out. If you have an airbrush and it comes with one of those little, almost like a little plate that goes on your regulator for it to mount the airbrush, it freaking works great. I remember getting it, I'm like, that's a piece of shit. Oh, no, it's not. It works really well. It looks like a piece of shit. All right. Do we have an issue here? Oh, we don't have sunlight, but we have that. Oh, we have issue here. Aha. We have no light, Vittoria. Is there? Fate. All right. Hand sanitizer. Where art thou? Actually, you know what? It's reactivating the black, and I can get some of that black on there. So let's just go ahead and take this off. There's a very minimal amount of paint that's here at this point. What is it that people wear gloves for that I find weird? I think it's cool that mechanics wear gloves because you get that stuff in all your fingers and shit like that, but what is it that I encounter people wearing gloves? What the hell are you doing wearing gloves? Oh, yeah, taking money at a drive-thru. Like, I hope you're not touching food with that because that's not really doing any good. You're going about this all wrong. I didn't need to do this, but I needed to do this. Now, let's see if this goes all the way through now. It does, but I can tell that there's buildup in there. All right, so let's... Playing with my airbrush, folks. This thing's actually really good for taking it apart. It's one of the things I read about the review, that it was really easy to do that. I don't think I have the wrong needle, but this one fits a lot better through here than the other one does. All right, let's try that, because that one went all the way through. Okay. I think that's going to be about as clean as I've run it with dirtier airbrushes. So let's take the needle, not drop it on the ground. I'm going to go all the way through. Nozzle and the end cap. And then we're going to run some Jesus juice through there. Why is it called Jesus juice? I don't know. The guy who I watched a video, that's what he called it. It's homemade thinner. Okay, this goes through the end. All right. Let's make sure, we're not running it in. So hold the pressure down and dial this down till you have it where you want it. Which is going to be maybe about 15 psi. And I gotta use the little boy's room. So I will be right back in a moment. All right. I'm not going to be able to brown wash these things. I want the paint to stay. The problem with the brown wash is if the paint isn't set on there for a very long time, just by putting it on, you actually it's abrasive enough with the brush that can peel the bottom layer of paint. So we'll spray the base color on these two Soviet tanks, and then we're going to call it an evening. And then in the morning, I'll just do the brown wash and go take the car for service. You know, again, which I would do the oil change if I had a lift. Okay. Let's take the M10 off. Where is the itty bitty T60? Okay, it's there. All right. I'm going to move this stuff over here. That's not the ones that we're working on. I'm sure they'll get most of these painted over the weekend. You know, that's kind of in a precarious place. Let's not have a bump foul. All right. So we've got two turrets on two vehicles. All right. I'm going to use the different Russian color first, because if I don't like how it looks, I got to do the other one in 4BO anyways. So 4BO is the standard Russian green from 1941 on, which isn't here because it's probably... Is that you? No, gray base. Okay, this is... Oh, it's in here. Well, what color am I missing? Oh, the white. Got it. Okay, so that's 4BO. And the other one is protective green. God, that's awfully fucking bright. It's really freaking bright. This other one's really dark. But we're gonna try it. If we don't like it, repaint it. We're doing it really thin anyway, so. Two wonderful viewers. Man, that's bright. Bright ass green. Well, I don't have to lay it really thick. Now, we're about 15 psi. All right, let's run a little bit of. We got this pushed all the way to the front. We do. Okay. Let's run a little bit of the juice and make sure it's working properly. Oh. I still think this is the wrong needle, but it goes all the way through and the other one didn't. We'll find out pretty soon if I'm happy with the results. There we go. Alright, where is this protective green that's bright as shit? So this is MIG Ammo Acrylic Color. It says brush and airbrush. And it doesn't work worth a shit with brush. I don't know that I'm going to use this color. It is looks like fucking wrong. There's no way that it's like the same color as the Rosetta green for the. Something ain't adding up. It's like the same color as the Rosetta green here. I'm not using that. Pattern-wise, I think it's okay. I'm not painting the tank in that color. That looking messed up. That joker's messed up. If something doesn't look right, it probably isn't. Yeah, because I'm going to end up taking that same color and lightening it up when I'm doing the highlights. Man, this thing's going to look like freaking bright-ass green. Okay. Well, that's why you check thing. MiG 0023. MiG 23, yep. Protective green. Sure doesn't look like that. Okay, time to do MiG 022. That's why you only add a drop of it. So if something goes sideways, you're not committed. Never used this color before. Four drops. And let's close it for good measure. And see what we got here. I think this is the Russian green. This should be darker than that one. And it's browner too. Almost looks like olive drab, like U.S. olive drab. But it's not. It's base protect alkidno uretanovia. Alkidno uretanovia. Whew. All right. To the gulag. Okay. So what I would normally do with this, if I wasn't airbrushing it, is I would take this color and dry brush it. But I still want to leave dark stuff in the recesses. Which glasses are these? These are super readers? They're not. Haha! So I'm going to make this brighter in places that are raised. And this is also really good practice for me with trigger control. That was 4 drops, so I'm going to do like 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I lied. This one shouldn't jam. So we're going to spray this so that it has a place for this paint to attach to it. And then do the hole underneath. This is a massive paint saver too. Amount of paint. So it's just a matter of building it up slowly. Low pressure. And then we do need to finish those snow vehicles, although I'm afraid that I'm going to really like the way the snow stuff looks. I'm going to really like the job that I'm going to do on them, and I have no experience doing snow stuff. I mean, I know what I like, and I know it looks good on the table. But getting to that final result. I'm getting better every time I do it, so that's all you can ask for. Now, I'm going to take a picture of this and show you guys. Or show you guy. Where is my phone? Uh-oh. Here it is. Odd place for it. And this is just the base color. I don't know if anybody's watching, but that's the starting point. Looks pretty fucking good. I'm actually going to go in and paint those little support bands on that. Okay. All right. Now we'll do the turret. So we're going to grab this contraption. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's helpful these things aren't very heavy. And we're going to give this a light dusting all the way through of the green. So that brown has something to attach to. Because you do a brown wash over black, guess what? You're not going to be able to tell. Still got some. I think I measured the right amount of paint. All right, now. But an airbrush is not necessary to do this. You can get really good results just using a paintbrush. Really good results. As a matter of fact, I think it's easier to use a paintbrush. Because using a paintbrush, you don't have to learn how to use a paintbrush and an airbrush. You just learn how to use the paintbrush. And paintbrush is so much easier to clean up. Okay, I think that's good enough for the base color on the turret. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Make sure the under part there has some green paint on it. And I think some people call this pre-shading. That looks pretty freaking decent for the starting point of what we're going to do. So, you know, it's fun to do as long as I'm not in a hurry. Like I gotta get this done today. You know, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Let's run the rest of this stuff out. And then we'll do the T60, and then we'll go from that. Now this stuff doesn't jam in here because it doesn't have that thin scum coat, whatever you call it. Okay. I forgot what I called it. Okay, that's gone. Now, we're going to use 4BO for the other one. 4BO green. How much did I use on the other one? 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll use 9 on this one. It's a smaller tank. I'm trying to kind of make a conscious effort because, I don't want to just waste the paint. No reason to be wasteful. Unless you're on a power trip. I bought all the paint I can be as wasteful as I want. Well, you can. If somehow you find that satisfying. If that's your shtick. All right, let's give this bottom a thin coat of this. Yeah, this color is bright enough. That other one was ridiculous. Okay. So this is done equivalently. And that's through the cute little turret. And by cute little, I mean cute little. It is little and it's quite cute. Not to be confused with cramped and ineffective. It's those two things as well. Okay, and this is pre-shaded. I don't know if I like calling it that. The inconsistency of color. That looks pretty fucking amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful casting also, but it's so beautiful, it's making me do a better job. It's a symbiotic relationship. And this is with zero weathering on it. This is just yeah, it looks pretty freaking good. All right, so we're going to clean this thing out, and we're done for the night. And we'll come back. I'm even going to leave them out here. I'll come back, grab them in the morning before our show. And the show's probably just going to consist of, why can Tony do a brown wash on something? Because I need to let that sit a little bit. You know, if every time you feel like you paint, you feel like you're doing a better job than the last time you did, what's wrong about that? What's wrong about that? What's wrong with that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we'll certainly be airbrushing tomorrow. I would think. I want to pull this in a little bit so we don't clip the end of that needle and damage it. Let's blow this thing. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Let's get up there near the 40s. Forecast is for hurricane force winds. How disappointing that One green was absolutely terrible. Because these colors I'm doing are only going to get lighter. They're going to get other colors on top of them, and the colors they're getting on top of them are even lighter. So let's put this in the trough where that goes. Pull the needle out. Pull it out! Okay. Loose snake, like a snake charmer. Okay, folks, that's it for the night. Thanks for stopping by. Almost 3 hours. Just airbrushing a few things. Hey, it takes a while, you know? And we'll see you guys in the morning if you're morning people. If not, we'll catch you. We'll hate you. We'll hate you. I hate you. We'll catch you later on this weekend.